Welcome to SoCal Sports Report's unbelievable 105th podcast.
Woohoo!
I am your host, John Stillman.
Cheers.
Lift a beer, a couple of toasts to that, along with Vince Morales, Corey Wojo, and we've got a full plate tonight of things to talk about. So let's get right to it. I'm going to go through our topics so that everybody understands where we're going and what we're doing. You may want to come in later if some of the things we talked about earlier in the show don't appeal to you. Lead off with the Super Bowl, Tom Brady and the boys. I've got a few comments about that. We'll talk about the Rams, what they need to do. They've got a lot of problems with the salary cap and a lot of restrictions on a lot of free agents problems. And also talk about Aaron Donald, Defensive Player of the Year again. Talk about the Chargers, Justin Herbert, who had a heck of a year. Also the Chargers. Yeah, I just mentioned that. The Dodgers, which they did a great job with Trevor Bauer. We'll talk about the players they lost, how that might impact them. The Angels went for quantity rather than quality, signing
They end up with a whole lot of nothing.
multiple starters rather than a quality number one guy. Mickey Callaway, of course, we'll get into that. Lakers just rolling along. Haven't had any real COVID problems yet. The Clippers, poor Clippers. They have a good team. They win, but they're always number 2 in LA. So that's the way it's going to be. Ducks and the Kings get a mention. The USC had a big basketball win over UCLA this last week. Put them tied with the Bruins for first place in the Pac-12. They're having
not tied. Tiebreaker goes to the Trojans.
Yeah, well,
having
the
one
tiebreaker.
win.
Yeah. Record-wise, 9-2.
Yes, correct.
And the Trojan football team came up with quite a miraculous recruiting class. I think they're in the top 10 in the nation there. So let's get started with the Super Bowl. I have to be perfectly honest. I watched the first half, and it was my opinion that Roger Goodell and the NFL really wanted Tom Brady to win this game. They wanted a 7th ring for him, and I just wasn't. Not that I wasn't rooting for Kansas City really, but it just upset me that every time they seemed to get a drive going, they were stopped. A couple of times the Tampa Bay got breaks with penalties when they were dying down. They had a long pass interference penalty when the ball was thrown 20 yards over the receiver's head. Anyway, I watched the first half, and I guess it was a pretty good ball game, but I want to get your take on that, Vinny.
Yeah, it felt like Pac-12 football refs. They were just calling everything. Were they fouls? Of course, yeah. I guess technically, yeah, they were fouls. But in a Super Bowl game, in a title game, you just hope that they let them play a little bit. Let the athleticism, and not inject themselves so much. So look, were they fouls? Yeah, technically they were. I actually was texting a friend, and at halftime I said, "Look, if it's going to continue to be called like this, I really have very little interest in watching the rest of it." And that was it. But they were fouls, right? They were holding them the whole time. That was just, they were very handsy with them the whole time.
Corey?
I think you're right, Vince. I think they were fouls. I think Kansas City was not playing disciplined football right off the bat. I mean, they had a chip on their shoulder. They brought the game from Buffalo into the Super Bowl, and it showed, right? They were undisciplined. I mean, how do you line up offsides on a field goal? That's inexcusable, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they've
completely
been taught how to do that since Pee Wee football. So that's just lack of discipline, which is, not something you usually see with an Andy Reid team. But yeah, they weren't on their game, and there's a lot going on from Kansas City that we probably don't know about. With Andy Reid's son, getting in a DUI accident and nearly, that young gal's, still in critical condition. So, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of things that were on their mind when it should have been just football.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were undisciplined, and that's what happens. right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. They at some point you got to stop complaining about the refs and make the
Yeah,
adjustments. And you know how it's being called. If they're calling it tight, then you got to keep your hands off them. And they just didn't. And they thought they could just manhandle the Bucks receivers. And there was a lot going on. And one of the things that I looked at in retrospect, it's like, first of all, you should just never bet against the Tom Brady Super Bowl team. You just shouldn't. And so that was number one. Tampa Bay was at home, number two. They were underdogs, three, and Kansas City, both their offensive tackles were out.
yeah.
And
They had no line at
Mahomes
all.
had a turf toe, right? So it was like all of those things lined
Yeah.
up for it being the Bucks, and I was kicking myself for really not hammering a bet on the Bucks. But all the signs sort of point, in hindsight, they sort of all pointed to the Buccaneers and Tom Brady.
It's pretty much the way it turned out. The only interesting thing I found was that it looks like our genius coach, Bill Belichick, needs the quarterback more than the quarterback needs the coach. He didn't seem to do too well with the Patriots this year without Tom Brady, but look what Tampa Bay did with Tom Brady. So I think maybe Belichick isn't quite as brilliant as we give him credit for.
I think Belichick had a plan all along, right? He knew it was going to be a COVID season. I mean, how many guys did they have that opted out of the season? They have plenty of cap room coming in. They've got draft picks galore. So I think you'll see him come rearing back and probably be flashing a ring in front of Tom Brady here in the next 2 years.
Yeah, and for Tampa Bay, Arians, he's not a slouch. I mean, he's a terrific coach, and Byron Leftwich has really proven that he can just dial up some terrific offense, and to have Brady at that age come in, and you saw some of the hiccups early in the season, right? You saw that there was where I think they lost 3 in a row, and then they came into their bye week, and they were still getting their feet under them. But once they did, they were absolutely terrific. And the play calling, I thought, in the Super Bowl and in the championship game was, against the Packers, was terrific. I mean, I thought it was just lights out, some of the best that I'd ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, Tom's got 9 games under his belt before the Super Bowl starts, right? He almost has a full season of Super Bowls under his belt.
Exactly.
So it's not like he's going to get butterflies. I mean, it's a normal game. He's just leading the other guys into it.
Didn't it look like every time they focused on him, like zoomed in on his face, didn't it look like his heart rate was like about 55 the whole time, right?
Yeah, calmest dude on the planet.
Totally.
Yeah, been there before.
All right, talking about quarterbacks. What are you guys' thoughts on Matthew Stafford coming in and Jared Goff departing? Yeah, he's going to love that weather. And if he couldn't handle the Green Bay weather, he's going to love the Detroit weather.
Well, he's got 8 games in a dome, so that's nice.
Well, that's right. That'll help.
Well, actually, he's got 10. He's got 12 games in a dome, so that's not all that horrible. He's going to play a game at Green Bay, game at Chicago, and whoever else they get. But
yeah. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Matthew Stafford?
Well, it was pretty clear that the Goff trajectory was spiraling downward. The 4-year, $134 million extension was just a colossal mistake. It made no sense. I mean, he was under the team's control through 2020 when they did it. They heavily front loaded it and made it was just completely unnecessary. And now when they, for whatever, his trajectory was going down, right? It was all about what, after the Super Bowl season, 4,700 yards, right? 32 touchdowns, 12 picks. And then it was 42 touchdowns, 29 interceptions over the next 2 seasons. And it was 20 touchdowns and 13 interceptions in 2020. And the fumbles were a disaster. So, for me, it looked like they were ready to part ways with Goff, and that's fine. I've got no problem with that at all. For me, it's the fact that Stafford turned 33 on Sunday. 12-year career, 0-3 in the playoffs, lifetime passer rating of about 89, right? It's about middle of the road of among active quarterbacks. And he just feels like an older, smarter, more injury-prone version of Goff without the playoff success. So I don't get how this makes the Rams immediately better, and I don't know how it makes them better long term, because they don't have a first round draft pick until the next presidential election year. So
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I don't see the logic behind taking an old, often injured quarterback and giving up 3 draft picks. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. All you're doing is you're hurting your immediate, and you're hurting your future. I mean, I could see it if they just had it. He had 1 year left on his contract, and they got him for a straight up swap just to get rid of Goff, and there might have been some bad blood there. At the end with who they wanted to start that playoff game.
right.
So, but I don't understand why they gave away the farm on that.
I can actually see where Detroit came out on the smart end of that deal.
Oh, absolutely. Because if Stafford doesn't work out, that becomes a high draft pick, right?
Yeah.
So, Stafford, 2019, the tailbone fracture, 2016, dislocated finger, 2011, broken finger, shoulder, AC joint separation, dislocated kneecap. I'm worried.
Yeah.
I'm worried. And he's 33 to start the season. So
he's a hit away from, having Wolford as your starter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Who was tolerable, but not somebody you want to have a whole, you don't want 14 games out of.
No, he's no Matt Castle. That's for sure.
No, he's not. No, he's no Matt Castle. I like it.
Third Defensive Player of the Year award for Aaron Donald. Another fabulous season. He just seems to get better every year. I don't know how much better he can get, but he's an incredible species and a great talent, a very, good shape, and he gets after it. He just gets after it.
So here's my theory. Look for the Rams. If they start off, poorly, look for them to recoup some of those draft picks by trading Aaron Donald, right? Aaron Donald.
Oh God, I hope not. He is.
It's Khalil Mack all over again.
Couldn't give me enough draft picks for him.
You can get two firsts and a second, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I guess that's sort of the insurance, policy there, the safety net for them. I guess so. You've got somebody of that caliber who's locked up, and and I guess that's possible. Gruden did it with Mac, as you said, Corey, and it could happen here. The Rams are in a tough situation. They got $30 million in dead cap, with 22 for Goff, 22 million for Goff, and 8 million for Gurley. I'm curious to see what their next move is.
They've got a lot of mud to walk through to be a good club again.
Yeah.
Yeah. The problem, like you said,
road to hoe.
Problem is they don't have any draft picks to start rebuilding, and they could be a mess if Stafford doesn't really put together a good year, and they have a playoff, at least a mini playoff run. Could be a long dry spell for the Rams. Really could.
Yeah.
I'm just worried that this feels like such a wash that I don't think it elevates the Rams. And Stafford is older and probably protects the ball better. He's going to have a better supporting cast around him. But I think the thing that I said at the beginning is that, what the decision they made on Goff was probably the right decision. What they did with the contract was poor, was dumb. But I think moving on from Goff was the right decision. I don't know if this is the right deal that makes it happen for him.
It looks like they're just making bad decision after bad decision after bad decision, though, and it compounds, and it's not anything they can get out of quick, right? Bad contract, bad trade, giving up draft picks. I mean, it just seems like they continue to step on their toe every single time.
Yeah, that there wasn't, Honest Snead's digging himself a hole. Like Chargers took Staley from the Rams as their head coach. Is that going to help them? He's a heck of a easy for me to say. He's a heck of a defensive coach, but is he ready to be a head coach? I certainly hope so. I think they made the right move in letting Lynn go. We can't continue to see rallying from ahead to lose week after week after week, and he's done it for 4 years. So he might be the nicest guy in the world, but he wasn't getting the results on the field. So you can't really be upset with them letting him go. I think the handwriting was on the wall there.
I think it was a good move getting a new coach. I mean, they were within one score of almost every loss, right? How many games did they lose in the last 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Right. So I think they freshened it up, get a new coach. I mean, they've got the right quarterback, for gosh sakes. That guy is an absolute beast. That was a steal. And they've got a good supporting cast, and you've got your defense, a couple guys coming back next year, and see what they do in the draft. If they go defense or they go offense in the draft.
Plus,
very interesting.
They've got draft picks and they got some cap space.
Yeah, I think they're sitting in much better position than the other team that occupies that stadium.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it feels that way. I mean, getting used to a new quarterback, you'll get a little bit of that bump. You'll get a lift with a new coach. And Herbert was terrific. I mean, he was just beyond way more mature, way more poised, and so athletic and talented. What a big arm.
Oh my gosh, he's so strong. Is Tyrod Taylor one of the most unluckiest NFL players in the history of NFL? I mean, his own team doctor punctures his lung before the game.
Yeah, maybe on purpose.
I mean,
it was fortuitous, right?
Right. I mean, it worked out, but I mean, I feel bad for that guy. He's such a good dude. You got to see him a little bit on Hard Knocks when they were doing the Browns, and he, solid citizen, and he's just been in some bad spots over and over.
Yeah, but it also says something like that when he leaves, teams elevate, right? So
right.
The Bills and the Chargers,
well.
right? Yeah, exactly. So a good guy, good citizen, good leader, but in the end, is he your number one guy?
Yeah,
maybe
he's not a top 10. That's for sure.
I mean, he's not. Yeah,
I think Justin is. I think Justin's a top 10.
Oh yeah,
for sure. And have a long career, stays healthy, gets some weapons around him, and with an improving Chargers defense and a coach that can give you just a little bit of an edge in those late games.
Yeah.
There was some bad clock management and just some poor decisions by Wood. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I think could be turning around here shortly. It could be that not that the Chargers will ever replace the Rams as the number one team in LA, but they could very well have a better record and get to the playoffs a little bit quicker than the Rams. We'll see what happens here in the next couple of years.
Who would have thought there was going to be this many Tampa Bay fans, right? I mean, people love winners. So
exactly.
The Chargers win, and they'll have people loving them.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. How about the Dodgers? Trevor Bauer was a great signing. They're just, I've got an article coming out shortly on the website about their rotation. And there was an article in the paper today with Dave Roberts. How are you going to get all these? They got basically 7 starters. And, they can't all get that many innings, but he's just, this team is just so good and so deep. The only concern I have is what are they going to do with Justin Turner? They need right-handed bats. I still think it would have been good for him if the National League had implemented the designated hitter rule this year. I think that would have fit Turner just perfectly. Let him play a better defensive third baseman on the diamond. Let Turner take his swings at the plate. But are they going to sign him? Why is it taking so long?
He wants 4 years. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's the key. If he's going to come down on that, off of that to 2, with the team option on a third, I can see that happening.
Mhm.
But if he wants more than 2 years, 18 million a year, then there's going to be an issue, and I think that's what's pushing this out further and further. And the Dodgers definitely need a right-handed bat, and they don't have the same kind of depth now that Kike and Jock are gone. So in free agency, and so Turner, right now it's Edwin Rios, who's a left-handed stick, who can play some pretty flashy defense, but he's not super solid. He's still a really young defensive player, a little immature defensively. So, if they can get it to 2 years, I think it'll happen. I still have hope that it's going to happen. I don't think Justin wants to leave, and I think the Dodgers want to keep him, and it's just getting closer to where the Dodgers want that contract.
The thing with the Dodgers, I never count them out with their farm system, right? They're going to bring some kid up that I've never heard of, and all of a sudden he's going to bat 350 and swat 25 and be an absolute stud in the field. So, I mean, I as much as I love JT, he's from Fullerton, right? The whole works. Great guy. He helped coach my kids way back when. Dodgers want to win another championship. Right? You don't want to get into sentimental signings, because that's what screws up a team. So you know what? Thank you, Justin. Thanks for all that you did. You did an awesome job with us. Go ahead and let the Mets pay you way too much for way too long.
Right. And I think that's right. I think the Dodgers, hold sort of all the cards here, where they'll say, look, we'll find somebody to platoon with Rios, right?
Right.
The kid is just hitting home runs at a
So strong.
tremendous rate. He's gonna continue to hit home runs. He's gonna learn the position, because he has, like I said, a flashy glove, just not consistent enough right now. And Muncy can play there as well, and
Sure.
and then you can shift things around. So whatever that the Dodgers' next decision is going to help them. If it's Justin Turner, terrific. Then you've got this great platoon. He's not going to play as many games because there's no DH, but that you can give him a rest, and knowing that you've got Rios behind him who can just smack the ball and just loves to hit off righties. But then there's going to be space available, right, somewhere else.
And
Taylor
thing that I look at, Ben, sorry,
Go ahead.
is if you take the name off the back of the jersey and you just look at how many games that guy played, right? He was injured a lot.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you can get more durable, younger for less, right? And some guy that's going to be with you for 4 or 5 years down the line. So, I mean, like I said, as much as I love him, if I'm a Dodger GM, I thank him. I send him on his way with a Jeter gift basket, and then I get another guy in there right off the bat.
Yeah, and I think they're absolutely going to try that. For me, I think if I'm Justin Turner's agent, right, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking that, okay, who are you going to play there? I mean, against lefties, right? Is it going to be Taylor at third? Maybe.
It could be.
They're going to have Lux, but again, if you play Taylor at third, you're going to have a lefty stick at second with Lux. And, if Muncy's the third baseman, so I don't know, maybe they put Austin Barnes at third for a little bit, get him some at bats. I don't know.
It's an easy transition. Yeah. Here's what I was thinking the other day, and I was talking to a couple of buddies, is watch David Price get traded.
Probably.
Right.
Yeah.
Watch David Price get traded for a corner utility guy.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Look, I have no affection for Price, right? He opted out,
Right.
He bailed out. It had nothing to do with the championship season.
Right.
He's been in a championship team, and he can give you some innings, but he's not young.
Nope.
And we don't know health wise what he's going to be. And a lot of that PR was, I feel great. I feel terrific. And it's like, sure you do.
Right.
Yeah. You had a whole season off, right?
Yeah.
And you're just starting to throw again. Of course you feel great, but
Everyone
let's
feels great
see.
in the spring.
That's right. And when they first pick up that ball, they feel great, right? And especially if they've had a whole year off. So I have no affection for Price. I know there are a lot of people who think, "Oh my God, you're just going to diminish the rotation." But I'm looking at the rotation, and it's right. It's Bueller, it's Bauer, it's Kershaw, and it's Gonsolin or May, and it's Urias, right?
Right.
I didn't say Price. We don't need Price. We didn't need him last year. We don't need him this year. And if you can get somebody for him, that's fine. It just, who's going to take the contract? It's a big contract, which was
a big contract,
right? And that's the only affection and love that I have for Price, is that it helped us get Mookie.
Right. Oh yeah, total package deal.
Yeah. So I'll take that. Right. I'll take that. So we'll see if we can parlay Price into a corner third baseman with some pop, a righty. Terrific.
Yeah. He'd probably have to take some of that money, but it'd still be worth it to get him out of there, because, like you say, didn't need him last year. They'll be fine without him this year. They've got plenty of depth. A lot of their starters aren't going to get enough innings anyway, because there's too many of them. So I don't think the absence of Price is going to make one difference one way or the other with the Dodgers season.
Yep.
No, they have to develop Gonsolin and May. I mean, the very thought of one of those guys, playing at Oklahoma City for half the year makes me feel really, either one's going to be converted into the bullpen, but as what, right? To chew up some innings, that seems like a waste. If they're not starting them, they got to have one of those guys at AAA who getting innings and working on stuff. But both of those guys have big league arms and would be in the starting rotation of any other club. And
that didn't have Bueller, Bauer, and Kershaw, right?
Right, exactly.
They'd be a number one or number two. Well, on the Angels, they'd be a number one. And
they
absolutely the best in the last 15 years. So
absolutely.
Gonsolin and May both be number ones.
Yeah.
What of the guys they lost, Vinny? I don't think Jock Peterson's loss is going to be felt too much, but Kiki was a very valuable guy, both during the season and in the postseason. How much is that going to hurt?
Yeah. You know who I'm going to miss the most? Alana Rizzo. That's who I'm going to miss. Yeah, she was terrific. And, but I'm kidding. She's going to be missed. She's terrific. I love her on the sidelines and love her in the clubhouse. It's terrific. Kike's the guy. Jock was always, hit or miss. Kike wasn't terrific. And the Dodgers pinch hitting last year was, during the regular season, was just awful. Terrific in the postseason. Jock was always elevated in the postseason, and Kike, a postseason legend.
Right.
But Kike's the guy, because you could play him all around. He was a terrific shortstop if you had to take him and put him in there for Seager. He was great at second and a really decent outfielder. Just a really good glove. And watching Verdugo and Kike in Boston will be fun. I don't know how much time he's going to get. I mean, I think the plan is to give him a lot of at bats and see where it lands, because he's young and he's talented, but I just don't know. He has not been very consistently great against left-handers. He can't hit right-handers terrifically well, but he's an energy guy. He's a chemistry guy, and he plays a lot of positions. And so I don't know if they're just going to load him in in a platoon and left, and, or what. But the Dodgers are probably going to miss Kike the most. With Pedro Baez, he was getting a little older. They can fill that gap, no problem. Jock wasn't, great, and he was already sort of on the way out this year, and last year was almost traded to the Angels.
Right.
So
I think Kike is the one that they're going to miss. I mean, the guy is clutch in the postseason, and he's just absolutely electric. So, I mean, he brings a lot to the table. But again, as much as I hate it because I'm an Angel fan, watching the Dodger farm system produce people is amazing. And the people that like the Muncie, right? You signed Muncie off a high school batting cage where hasn't played for a while, and then he ends up being an all-star. I mean, they're doing their due diligence and they're finding the right guys. So I wouldn't, I don't think they're really going to miss either of them. I think they'll, probably get a text from both of them when the Dodgers get their next ring this year. But I don't think they're going to miss them.
Yeah, it's probably not. I mean, like you said, the farm system's so deep, they'll pick somebody up from somewhere and he'll be a superstar, and you'll forget who Kiki and Chuck Peterson were.
They're going to give up 2 runs or less a game. I mean, it doesn't matter, right? Catch the ball and play some defense, and then gets a couple of timely hits. They'll be all right.
That's all you need. Angels, Corey.
Just makes me sick. And Artie came in second place again in his own city.
The what?
Right? How do you lose out on Bauer when he's going up the 5 freeway? I mean, if you're gonna be an owner, play the game and get the guys you need to get. They went full Buzzy Babasi instead of, a 20-game winner. They got 5, 4-game winners.
4-game winners. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do either of you guys feel like it was a character issue for Bauer and the Angels?
I think there was a conflict with Mickey Callaway.
Yes, that's what
I think that was
Right.
He was just pitching coach in Cleveland. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they liked each other. Bauer obviously is pretty abrasive, but he's the talent. So I think that's where they pulled that story out of their back pocket that they obviously knew about, to try and at last ditch effort to sign Bauer. And Bauer, I mean, to Bauer's credit, he played it perfectly, man. He got everybody, in a tizzy, and he got everyone riled up and got a bidding war going between some deep pockets with Cohen's new money. And then the Dodgers came in and paid him $40 million, so.
Yeah. I mean, kudos to his agent, Luba,
Yeah.
right? She was, everybody was saying, oh, she doesn't look, he's not signed. She doesn't know what she's doing. It's like, the hell she doesn't. She played that perfect. And that video that he put out, goosebumps for me. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was just fantastic, well written, and just a real masterpiece of how to endear yourself, especially an abrasive guy like Bauer, who has a lot of personal baggage coming with him, and also somebody who can be a little misogynistic with the female reporters, and kind of a tough guy to deal with. They handled it perfectly, right?
Yeah. But
everybody in LA, I mean, mostly has forgotten any of that nonsense, right? Because of that.
They forget you. They forget about everything else, right? You can have as many warts as possible as you want, but if you're winning, if you're throwing 20-game W's up there, you're an absolute angel, right?
Yeah,
so
I think
give people that win.
Yeah, I think the detractors will say, look, if you look at the full body of work, it's not a lot of great numbers, but that arm is live and just nasty stuff, and he's going to fit in perfectly with the Dodger rotation.
Yeah, but going back to the Angels, John, other than not being able to land a free agent pitcher that's worth really anything else. I mean, Alex Cobb, he's a 4th starter. He'll improve their rotation because the rotation is so bad. But I don't understand why we keep getting guys from Baltimore. I do like Iglesias up the middle with Fletcher at second. So that's a solid infield. Dexter Fowler. I mean, Dexter Fowler, I think, was in the same high school class I was. And, the guy's got to be, he's a baseball 37, but I think real life, he's probably 45 or 50. Right?
I didn't understand that at all.
No. To be honest, I thought they should have went after Puig. You're going to get so much more.
Get him cheap.
Yep. I mean, they did get Fowler pretty cheap because the
that's true.
Cardinals didn't like him so much that they're going to pay him most of his salary not to play for him. Right?
Yeah. Exactly. But again, the Angels continue. It's the same. It's a broken record, right? It's like, with Pujols, there's no real pitching, no ace, and with Pujols just dragging that lineup down, right?
Yeah.
Well, the good thing
And-
is,
And what about Ohtani? I mean, are we going to see pitcher and hitter Ohtani?
who knows?
I would have traded that guy his rookie of the year season and gotten as much as I could for him, because now he's a
Broken down.
220 hitter, and he pulls off everything. I mean, anyone that's watching baseball can see that. He does not like the inside pitch, right? So I'd go in on his hands every single time. He's going to have 2 starts, and they're going to be kid glove starts, and then he's going to have some sort of ailment. They're going to shut him down. So I think I don't hold any stock in that guy at all, and I could be totally wrong, and I hope I am. But I mean, the numbers speak for themselves.
After that first year, he has not been the same. Granted, he had a couple of injuries, but still,
He's a Ron Kittle,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Rookie of the year, bench maker later on. So
So
Yeah,
you're not.
I think the only advantage is that you might get a few good starts out of him, maybe I know he doesn't want to go in the bullpen, but maybe that's a place for him. So you get a little extra added value. I mean, if you could have Ron Kittle who could throw some innings for you take him, right?
right. The best thing that's happening for the Angels is the other teams are sort of losing their talent, right? A's have gone down tremendously.
Yep.
Houston's gone down tremendously. So they've lowered the bar so the Angels can play, basically.
Maybe 78 wins will win the division.
We'll have to see, man.
Maybe.
I mean, you don't like Jose Quintana as your number 4 guy in that rotation?
No. But who knows? I mean, stranger things have happened, right? Guys can go on tears. Guys can have record years. And that's what you have to have. You have to have a Spezio, guy that comes out of nowhere and has a career year, so that they can win. So you got to have some guys really elevate their games.
They picked up a couple of bullpen guys, a closer, Raciel Iglesias,
Right.
and then Alex Claudio. I don't know where he came from, but I think Iglesias had a decent year last year, but still, the Angels have been searching for pitching for years and years and years, and we hear the same broken record every winter. Pitching is our main priority. We're going to go out there and get pitching. Well, I know Vinny loved Epler. I think he's going to fall in love with Minasian too, because he hasn't done a heck of a lot in his short stay so far. As far as
and I just wonder how much Artie's mouth is sort of like alligator mouth, hummingbird ass, right? I mean, if he's got he's talking all this game, but I mean, how do you lose to Bauer up the freeway, right? He didn't not go to Los Angeles because of taxes or the environment or anything like that. I mean, you lost to your rival, basically.
Yeah, and then the Rendon thing felt good, right?
Right. I love him.
And getting some at bats for Adele, right? And getting him into the lineup, that felt right. But it doesn't. They're going to have to win games 9-8 because of that pitching staff, and that's been the same way for so many years that at some point it's like, right? What's the definition of insanity, right? So, I mean, come on, do something different, right? Go after, and maybe to. In their defense, they went after and made a good offer, and they just weren't willing to spend $40 million a year on a Bauer. Maybe that just wasn't the ticket, but maybe next year they will be. I'm just not sure they will.
I don't know. It's just how bad they want to win, right? Obviously the Dodgers want to win worse than anyone, right? Because they're going to pay 40, 45, and he can opt out at any time. So if you're in this game and you're an owner, you got to go all in. If not, then sell it off to somebody that's got more money.
It's funny because there was a time there when the Dodgers were trying to they didn't care about the cap, right? They were paying the tax, and then they decided they were going to they were just going to get to a point where they were under the cap threshold, and they'd reset the tax, right? The competitive balance tax, and then they just start going after it again, right? And it felt like, wow, $40 million for Bauer, and they still might still try to sign Seager, right? They have to
Right.
sign Seager right next year at the end of, he's a free agent next year, and they're still going to go after him, right? They extended Mookie Betts. Everybody said, oh, they're renting Mookie, and I'll tell you, my heart felt at the very beginning that maybe we weren't going to get him, but it didn't take long, right, for them to pull the trigger and give him that 12-year contract.
Vinny, they did rent him. They just rented him for 12 years.
That's 12, the lease to own, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing that really kills me about the Angels, John, and you and I have been lifelong Angel fans. And I'm not a Rhodes Scholar. I didn't go to Harvard, but they make bad decisions, right? Obvious bad decisions, that continue to haunt them. So I don't know if it's Artie, but I mean, he's the one that owns it, and he's the one that's signing the checks. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know about the GM signing. I don't know if the GM is even a good signing. When you had, the guy out of Dombrowski that wanted to come here.
Yeah.
Dombrowski has a record of actually winning, right? These other guys have zero.
World Series.
Yeah.
All you get is another assistant GM, which is what Messinian was, Epler.
Yeah, you get another puppet for Artie.
Yeah.
Right.
They all were, assistant. Well, they started making the bad decisions before you guys were even born. When I was covering the team back in the 70s, letting Nolan Ryan go.
Well, that's the Bavasi, right? Buzzy.
2 8 and 7 pitchers. I'll just go out and sign 2 8 and 7. That was the biggest. That was the start of the downfall.
I mean,
they haven't made a good decision since.
Since Stoneman left, and they, the scouting director his name just escapes me right now.
Eddie
but
Bain.
what's that?
Eddie Bain.
Yeah, Eddie Bain. Yeah. I mean, since they let him go, they've had, they've drafted poorly, they've signed poorly, they've traded poorly. I mean, gosh, it seems like, we could do a better job running that team, the three of us. And
the farm system is the problem, right? As a Dodger fan, there were years when it was just rookie of the year after rookie of the year, and then it happened again, right? And so to have the luxury of the farm system being there to refill things for you and reload, it really makes a big difference. And I can't remember the last time the Angels had more than one prospect. I mean, it's Joe Adell, and that's it, right?
Well,
I mean, I don't even know.
Vince, they drafted a catcher in the first round in the top 10 3 years in a row, right? Theis and Taylor, and I forget about the other one, but I mean, come on. How many pitchers did they pass up so that they could draft these catchers in the first round? And I'm a catcher, and I understand, you need a good catcher, but not in the first round, not with the 3rd overall pick and like the 9th overall pick. I mean, that's
now they went out and signed Suzuki, so that's really going to be
the Dodgers developed their catchers into closers, right? So, so it's always about the arms for the Dodgers, and then I can't remember the last time they used a first round pick on a position player. I just can't.
No. I mean, the last great closer that the Angels had was a catcher in Percival, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, same sort of mentality. But, I mean, I look at their draft, and Jomani Jones was a 3rd round pick. I mean, come on. All these middle infielders and catchers. And, I mean, even Joe Adell, right? Physical specimen, but that was sort of the worst rookie year I've ever seen. I've never seen anybody pop 2 home runs over the fence with their glove, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
He can Seiko 2 of them.
Yeah. So,
I almost can't understand when I look back at it now. How did they get Mike Trout? I mean, I can't believe
Eddie Bain.
24th or 25th pick.
Yeah, well, he was right after Grichuk because they sandwiched that thing. So
let's stay on the Angels for a minute and talk about this Mickey Callaway thing, which is a disaster. I'll be shocked if he's hanging around come opening day. I mean, how can you let something like this? I mean, these guys all think they're never going to get caught. I'm above the law. Nobody's going to say anything. I mean, why would you do that when you've got a wife and a family and a career? I mean, that's absolutely asinine. There's no way they can keep him hanging around. I mean, he's got to be gone, and he'll probably never get another job. I mean, why? Why do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know all the back end of it. I don't know Mickey Callaway. I've never met him before, but I look at it and go right back to Angels making bad decisions. How do you not bet this guy out, right? You can do all these different checks on people.
Well, neither
How do
did
you
the
not
Mets.
know this coming in?
The Mets didn't vet him out when he came from Cleveland. They hired him as manager.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a good look, and on the especially on the heels of the Eric K arrest and charge, in the Tyler Skaggs situation, it just makes it's from the top down, right?
Yeah.
Artie's got to be accountable for this sort of thing, and it just feels wrong. And let me tell you, I've read a lot, on Twitter of people who are chiming in about Callaway, and the way that it was presented, of him being, aggressive or pursuing females aggressively is probably whitewashed quite a bit.
Right.
And, that's what I'm hearing, that it's not pursuing someone aggressively. It is outright, harassment, abuse sort of stuff is he still with the team? I mean,
he's on administrative leave, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Suspended.
Yeah. I wanted to see, on a happier note, because that's such a big pile of poo. I'd love to see Jared Weaver come in and be the pitching coach.
Why not?
Sure.
Get all the pitchers throwing 82, right?
Works
I
for
mean,
me.
but he's such an icon in the area, right?
Sure.
It would be a complete reversal.
Well, that's exactly why they won't do it.
What's
that's
that?
exactly why they won't do it.
I know.
It's a perfect fit and makes too much
I know.
sense. Why would you want to do something right? I mean, you ruin your whole image.
I would bring him in, or bring in Percival, or bring in, someone else that has ties to the team, has the team's best interest at heart, and was at the top of their game, so they know how to win.
Exactly. All right, let's switch gears here for a minute and talk about the Lakers. Seem to be rolling right along. Fortunately, they haven't had any COVID delays along the way. They've kept everybody pretty healthy, except for the normal injuries. But I just wonder how long this can last. I mean, you're starting to see him get tired. I think the legs are getting a little tired. They're playing an awful lot of games in a short period of time. A lot of, one day, play one day, off one day, right back at it the next day. And only 77 days off between the final game of the finals and the first game of the season. I got to think that LeBron's and the older guys are going to, last two games, LeBron's had to play over 40 minutes, both overtime games. I'm looking for them to slow down maybe considerably in the second half of the season. I don't think they can sustain it the way they've done it now without some failures along the way.
So, John, just on a side note, one of the funniest lines I've heard this entire year came out of LeBron James in the Celtics, when they beat the Celtics 96-95 the other day. Right. And he came out and said, it was a great win in a hostile arena. There was no fans in the stands. How can it be a hostile arena? I mean, come on, man. That was one of the worst lines I've ever heard.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have a better record on the road, which is probably at the core of some of that. Yeah, they're pretty damn good on the road.
Now, just keep on the road all year.
I don't know what it is. Obviously, there's an energy to the Staples when they get it going, and without the fans there, I can see where LeBron might think it's hostile, right? Because he can hear everybody on the Celtics sideline, right?
People in the stands,
yeah, exactly. So, but you can't chunk it against the Pistons and then
they almost lost both those games.
Yeah. Because should have.
Yeah.
Should have lost them both. And then, another overtime game that looked like they had it in hand, and just a terrible foul at the end of the game against the Thunder. You, uh, by KCP, to send them to the line for 3 to tie it. Ugh. Those are just extra minutes that you don't want to play.
One of the things that we have to remember, though, is after that long championship run, right, and all the things that they went through, it's almost a letdown to have the regular season, right? So they might be facing a little bit of boredom, right? And that's where the coaching is going to come in, right? So they can keep them focused, keep them energized, and let them know, that these games do count. But as a player, I remember, listening to some of the players back in the day, and they would say, we knew we were going to make the playoffs, so we just had to get through the regular season. I think that's might be something that they'll be dealing with.
Davis hasn't been great. I think they're still waiting for guys to, Schroeder has not been the sort of lockdown defensive guy that they were hoping, and they're still figuring some things out. And you got young guys like THT, right? So they're I'm not worried about them in the postseason, right?
No.
Somebody's going to have to bring their absolute perfect, game series to beat them and to oust them, and the Lakers are going to be right there, and they're fine. I'm not worried about this.
They need to be in the top 4, right? They need to have the home court,
Right.
especially if they don't go into the bubble again. If they go in the bubble, it doesn't matter. They can be in the top 8 or and be just fine because it's all a neutral court. But
right.
They're going to get top 4. They might get top 2 and be just fine.
The Clippers are the Clippers are never going to win this town. They're always going to be number 2 unless they get out to Inglewood and put up a couple of banners. But as good as they are and as entertaining as they can sometimes be, they're just not going to get they're just Lakers. This is a Laker town. It always will be. And it's too bad because of the Clippers. The Clippers are drawing well. I'll give them that. They outdraw the Lakers only because they reseat the arena for a larger capacity. They do have diehard fans, but nobody talks about the Clippers.
I think it'll help when they get their new arena, right?
Yeah.
They have their own house and stop living in their dad's house, then in the basement. Then I think they'll be a little bit more of their own identity. They can have it'll be all Clipperville the whole time. But I think Ballmer's got the right idea. He's got good players in there. But I think that arena is really going to help.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. I mean, I think that they've done everything right since Ballmer came on board. They had a letdown against the Nuggets in the postseason.
Yeah.
It's excusable, but they made the decision to get rid of Doc, and that was probably the right decision. It's going to be better for them in a new arena. But as far as what you're talking about, John, in being beloved in the city of Los Angeles, they're second-class citizens in Staples. They moved to Inglewood, and it's like, as a Laker fan, I'm already pissed that you're moving into Inglewood, like where
the form.
Showtime was born.
Right.
Even though it's on the grounds of Hollywood Park, or I don't know where it is exactly. But it kind of builds the resentment as far as Laker fans, and so it's going to be hard to continue to be beloved. But if they can embrace that, being sort of that outsider, has their own place,
black sheep,
sort of the Raiders, mentality.
Right.
It'd be great. But Ballmer's just not. I don't think he's like that. I don't think that's his persona, right? But I think that helps to build. But they have to strike while the iron is hot. Kawhi, at his age, is in a load management phase, right? But yet he's just as he gets older, how many great years do they have left with Kawhi?
Right. 2, 3.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they got to win now, but I think Ballmer's going to be able to he's sort of the antithesis of of Artie Moreno, right? Making the right moves. He's going to spend the money. He bought the whole. They were having environmental issues. They says, "I'll just buy the land. I'll buy the forum too. No problem. I'll buy Hollywood Park. I'll buy whatever." He wants to win. He's doing what it takes to win. And just like we talked about before, they win and they will be looked upon much better. They're not going to be the Lakers, but
that'll be the start.
Lakers.
Yeah, but it'll help. You're like you say, with a new house and a winning team. If they can put a title up in that new building, it can change minds pretty quick.
Absolutely, winning's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting to see. The 76ers are on top of that division right now. It's interesting to see how they do in the playoffs with the notorious loser as their head coach. I wonder how that's going to affect their playoff run with, everybody's going to be watching because they know what Doc's done with the Clippers. Couldn't never get them anywhere, once the season was over. Philly's a pretty good team. I don't know. We'll find out what kind of a coach Doc is when the playoffs start.
Yeah, we'll see. Doc's a champ. I mean, Doc's won a title. He knows and he's done a great job with that squad. A time had run out for him with the Clippers, and and I get that, right? I totally get that.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think it makes him, I don't think it made him a bad coach. I think it just made him an unlucky guy. Some of that was on Doc. Sure, some of that was on Doc. I agree with that. Some of that was definitely coaching in that series against the Nuggets, but not all of it. Not all of it.
Yeah. He didn't shoot one shot. So
absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know what we need to say about the Ducks and the Kings. They're off to kind of a start that we anticipated, both floundering around near the bottom. Rebuilding for both clubs. Look like they might have some nice players in the future, but what have you done for me lately?
I'll break it down. I'll break it down for you on the Kings, right? We're seeing the last of the old guys, and I'm enjoying it. They're playing well, right? We got Kopitar who's 33, Doughty who's 31, Quick is 35, Carter 36, Brown 36, having good years. Pretty much, except for Doughty, who's been rough. I don't know what's going on with him. But then there's the young guys, Gabe Velarde, Arthur Kaliev, Tobias Bjornfort, and Alex Turcout. That's who we're waiting to see, right? So for me, it's just one of those seasons that's the bridge to what's next. So I'm enjoying the old guys while we still have them, but I'm waiting for the young guys to get in and do their thing.
100% with you, Vince. That's exactly what I was going to say. We've got this layer of guys that they're playing out the rest of their career. They're on coming up to the 18th green right now. But man, the Kings look great down below. Like they are going to have some powerhouse teams. They've got speed again. They have really built it correctly, and I look to them to be a contender in the next 2 years, I would say.
Yeah, I think they're doing it right, and they're bringing guys on slowly. Velarde's been terrific, and in last year, and Kaliev has been really good. I mean, he's just 19 years old.
Right. He's a kid.
It's crazy. It's
fair.
crazy, and we haven't even seen Alex Turcotte, right? I mean, he's with the Reign right now, so it's like we haven't even seen him.
Right.
Or Tobias, right? I mean, I think he was up for a little while and maybe played a game. I don't remember. But, when you've got that core, it's going to be exciting. It's just hard to watch. I mean, when they lost to the Ducks had scored, 16 goals in 11 games at that point? And then they scored 3 and just totally beat up the Kings. So it was just awful hockey. But I'll wait. I'm patient.
I'm not as optimistic on the Ducks. I'm not sure how much they've got backloaded here. It's a shame, but I'm really, really high on the Kings. I think the Kings are really going to start shining here with their youth and their speed. I mean, the guys I've seen have got so much speed that it's going to be.
It's the name of the game. It's the name of the game anymore.
It is. That's the game these days.
Yep.
Your Trojan basketballers had a nice victory against UCLA this past week. Put them tied 9-2, but like you say, they have the tiebreaker and top of the Pac-12 there, Vinny.
Yeah, the Pac-12 is probably a little down, but that's a pretty deep USC team. I think the question is whether Andy Enfield can, sort of figure out, and that's always been what he's really good at, is figuring out which guys to play, because he doesn't always have that outstanding guy who's for sure going to get you 20, right? We got two young Mobleys, right? And Mobley may be a one and done guy. And he pulled in a lot of transfers, right, from Rice, and Peterson from Rice, and Bauman from Santa Clara, and just all over, right? So he's doing the right things. He's got a lot of depth. There isn't that one like older leader that you sort of look to drain the free throws and bring you home in a close game. And they beat a UCLA team that was shorthanded, right? And probably in a way that they should have, in a decent way. So we'll see what happens when it's at Poly, and if those guys are back. I think one was personal reasons and one was an injury, so I don't know whether they're going to be back or not, but we'll see. But I'm excited for the Trojans. Hopefully they can continue to stay healthy. We'll get everything to the postseason, and it looks like they're considered a 6 or 7 seed, and that sounds about right. It's better than being a play-in team like they've been, or excluded altogether when they win more than 20 games, which is nonsense. But
how many teams do you think from the Pac make it to the postseason?
It's weird. I mean, UCLA, USC, Colorado, Oregon, right? That's 4. I think beyond that, it's going to be, a stretch. It's hard not to imagine an Arizona school, right? But Washington's terrible. Wazoo's not very good. Oregon State's, awful. Utah's young. So 4, I think for sure. 5 maybe. I don't know. Yeah. It's a weird year. It's hard to say.
How about your while we're on the Trojans, Vinny? Your the football team had a heck of a recruiting year. They finished fast, started slow, but finished fast.
Yeah.
And now I think they're in the top 10 in the nation.
Number 8.
Yeah.
So in 2020, the recruiting, they were 64th in the nation, and they had zero 4-star defenders. In 2021, they're number 8 nationally, and they have 9 4-star defenders. 2 top 100 quarterbacks. They're a linebacker recruit, Rajon Davis, number 79 in the nation, number 1 in the state of California at his position. He was a decommit from LSU, a little on the small side, but a good outside linebacker. Defensive back Sayar Wright, number 1 at his position in the nation, number 1 in California. Defensive end Corey Foreman, number 48 in the nation, number 1 in California in his position. And they also signed a transfer running back from Texas, Keontae Ingram. So it's looking great. Is Helton the guy to take him to the promised land? I say no, but it can be promising. We'll see. A great class, though. A great class.
They turned it around pretty quickly.
They sure did. Yeah. And that's not all on Helton, right? That's assistant coaches and guys who are actually in the living rooms. Right?
Didn't they hire a guy from Oregon who was a top recruiter, a coach, an assistant coach? He's supposed to be a great recruiter. That's got to help keep some of these boys in Southern California instead of letting them get away to the.
In the old days, it was Coach O, right? Orgeron was the guy in there, shaking hands and kissing babies and hugging the moms. So, it's not all on Helton, but Helton needs to improve as a game manager. He just needs to improve. He just does. It's just flat out. He just never feels like that's I've said it before, right? If there was a Big Five conference team who was looking to
I know
hire
where
a
this is going.
coach, right? Looking to hire a coach, would Clay Helton even be on the top list? No.
No. If USC was looking for a coach, they wouldn't be looking at Clay Helton, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I hope. How far can they go? Can they make a run this year? Can they get?
It depends. It depends on how well this recruiting class develops, right? I mean, I think that it's more and more about how fast your freshmen can contribute, right? I think that's the big thing anymore. And if these kids can contribute, they could go a long way. I think the thing that's holding them back is Helton and the development of some of those younger kids and some depth. And but
I think they also have to get a little bit of luck with the schedule, right? And
Sure.
and all this COVID stuff where they had to play teams that weren't top caliber teams, so they weren't ever in the spotlight really to be in the BCS playoff. So I mean, I think it might have helped them out a little bit to have the team they had during this time, but now
Sure.
We're really going to find out what Helton can do because, like you said, man, he's got a stacked team coming in, a bunch of stud freshmen that'll push the upperclassmen or push the sophomores and juniors, and hopefully, I mean, I'm not a big SC fan, but it's tough to be a UCLA fan and watching all this stuff happen, with SC signing guys left and right.
Yeah, and it felt like, for UCLA, getting Chip Kelly was really going to change things, and
we talked
feel
about
like that at all.
No, he has just gone there and just sat on his hands. It looks like
it feels like that, doesn't it? It doesn't feel like
hey, I'm in Southern California. The weather's great. This is beautiful. This will be my last job.
There were moments when it just felt almost like a surrender, right? He brought in that graduate transfer from Michigan as their quarterback, right. Just sort of like, I don't have anybody I can play now. I might as well, this guy is good enough. And the recruiting's been okay, but I just don't see the same imaginative offense. No. I would always dread facing Chip Kelly in that offense, and it just feels like he's sort of just like, oh, I don't have the kids, I don't have the talent.
Yeah, I was expecting the Oregon offense to show up again. I thought, I'm coming back to college. I'm going to reinvent this offense. We're going to run and gun. We're going to run 96 plays and, whatever. But man, his offense is horrible. It's so predictable and so boring. I'm like, come on, dude. It's the same sort of thing.
Yeah, Corey, we talked about this, I think, back when he was, when he first came on, and one of the first things out of his mouth was like, this isn't, don't expect the Oregon offense here. And I thought, are you kidding?
Every
UCLA fan is hoping and expecting for that.
Yeah.
How can you say that?
Yeah. And I think Vince, I owe you a drink or something like that, because I think we made a bet that he would be, in the top 5 or whatever within 2 years. But it's sad to watch.
Look, I think if it was still the same offense, and he's getting some kids, he's getting those guys. I just don't know that he's going to be around long enough for it to be all of his recruits and his system and his guys. And it could still happen, but I don't see it. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't either.
And it's a shame, because it's the Pac-12 is always better when USC and UCLA are at their best.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely. You want those guys. We need some strength in the Pac-12 so that we can, have something to cheer for instead of the same old teams, Clemson, Alabama. God, I'm tired of it. Right?
Yeah. Totally.
Well, at least Larry Scott, I think, is stepping aside. June 31st? That'd be a big improvement right there, and that might turn the corner, because he's been an absolute disaster.
Just some poor decisions with the television deal, and putting their offices in San Francisco and just paying all that terrible rent in a high rent area, just some bad.
I know that there was some good office space available in Santa Ana they could have gotten for pennies on the
Sure,
dollar. So.
absolutely.
You can't,
Right.
even,
And yeah, absolutely.
Or, Inglewood, for gosh
can't
sake.
even get that, I don't know who.
Or
can get-
Vegas. They could have been in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they play the Pac-12 basketball tournament in Vegas, right?
Right?
Go to Vegas. It's cheap. No
Yeah.
state income tax. You'd be great.
Go to Reno.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I don't have
Yeah, I'm
anything
glad to
else.
see him gone. Glad to see the back of him.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else. If you guys have something you want to bring up, feel free. Otherwise, no.
No, I'm good. It was good to see you guys again. Good to talk some sports.
Yeah, we'll
Thanks,
try to
Sean,
keep
for getting it going again.
this going every week, as much as we can. All right, guys, we are out.